ताकि मोर 30 क्लास कैंसिल कर दो कहबे आज ता Good morning. Let's start the discussion on current affairs. The first topic is public health. The COVID SARS 2 XBB 1.6 lineage cause of concern. Another variant of the COVID virus. Over the past 3 years, in multi-wave infection, the SARS-CoV-2 virus continued to evolve by accumulating genetic variations. What are the recombinants? Co-infection of multiple lineages of a virus could result in recombinations between genomes, which can give rise to chimeric genomics, otherwise called recombinants. While most recombinant may not give rise to viable viruses, there is a rare possibility that a recombination could result in the creation of a new lineage of the virus with better functional capabilities than either of the parent lineage. Several recombinant lineages of the SARS-CoV-2 have emerged during the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. To such recombinant lineage are currently designed as variant under monitoring by the World Health Organization. XBB, a recombinant of the Omicron sublineage BA2.10.1 and BA2.75. The XBF, a recombinant of the BA.5.23 and BA.2.75.3 Omicron sublineage. They are all sublineage of the parent virus. The lineage XBB.1.5, a sublineage of the XBB, first identified in New York City in October 2022, is currently designated as a variant of the interest BOI by the WHO. But this XBB.1.16 lineage are detected in SARS-CoV-2 sequence from India. The XBB.1.16 is a recombinant lineage of the virus and is a descendant of the XBB lineage. The lineage has been circulating predominantly in India. A significant large number of genomics from outside India, such as the US and the Singapore, have been linked with the international travel, mostly from India. The variant has to date been detected in at least 14 countries across the world. The lineage XBB 1.1.16 has a number of mutations in common with the VOIXBB.1.5 additional key mutations including E180V and T478R in the spike protein called the 15T in ORF9B are present in the XBB.1.16 lineage. In contrast, the XBB.1.5 has the mutation of T478K in spike. The T478R is associated with the immune escape or the ability of the virus to evade antibody generated from previous infection or vaccination. This is important because this variation can evade or will be able to overcome the antibody developed by the earlier infection. The ORF9B 15T mutation is also found in the lineage XBB 1.9 and has been widely believed to lend a growth advantages to the virus. Fine. The preliminary data also suggests that okay. So why this XBB 1.16 a cause of concern? Amid the growing increase in the number of seasonal influenza H3N2 cases, an uptick in the COVID 1.1 cases is also being seen in India in the month of March. Despite the low number of testing, the total number of COVID-19 cases across the country has increased over 6,000 and estimated more than 7,000 active cases. The fast spreading XBB 1.16 lineage is believed to be responsible for the recent spike in COVID-19 cases in India. Although data from systematic genomic surveillance in India is limited, the XBB 1.16 today accounts for more than 30% of all the sequenced genome in the month of March 2023, and its proportion has been seen to be increasing in the past few weeks. The state of Telangana, Karnataka, Gujarat, and Maharashtra have reported the highest number of XBB 1.16 cases. However, this could be biased as not all states are actively sequencing their samples. Based on preliminary data, there is no evidence to suggest that infections with the XBB 1.16 lineage differ in clinical severity from those caused by the other Omicron lineages. Although the higher growth advantage and immune escape could lead to a higher risk of reinfection with XBB 1.16 compared to other circulating Omicron lineages. Protecting the vulnerable through time-tested means could therefore significantly blunt the rise in infection. This is a big concern because these cases are increasing in India at present. Okay, and the latest report in the TB shows that there are more than active. Okay, more than 7,000 cases are active in India. Then the next topic is about the governance or the economic question. The women in public sector banks. Recently, the data shared by the government showed increased participation of women in the payrolls of public sector banks. According to data shared by the Ministry of State for Finance, the Lok Sabha, the proportion of women employee has increased over the past years in most public sector banks. In three public sector banks, women employee constitute 30% or more of the total workforce. Indian Overseas Bank had the highest share of female shares staffers in the total strength of around 36%. What is Indian Overseas Bank? Cabinet Committee on Empowerment Women in its fourth report consider the working condition of women in the public sector bank. They have the following suggestions. It found presentation of women in high grades low and asked the government to treat it as an issue of high priority. It called on the government to revisit policy regarding posting transfer of women to distant places. It found low awareness among women employees regarding the venue available to them for prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. Women worker labor force participation data from the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy (CMI) show that India's labor force participation rate has fallen to just 40% from an early level of 47% in 2016. The main reason for the Indian labor force participation rate being low in the abysmally low level of female LFPR. According to CMI data, as of December 2020, when the male LFPR was 67.4%, the female LFPR is low as 9.4%. Okay, it is labor force participation rate. FPR stands for labor force participation rate. India ranked 135 among the total of 146 countries in the World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Index 2022, which slipped from 112 position in 2020. Okay, so from 112 to 135. This is a slip of Indian position in women workforce participation. According to the World Bank Forum, 30.7% of the in 2006, the proportion of working age women taking part in paid work dropped to 19.2% in 2021. See, this is the figure labor force participation of employment rates. Okay, so this is month wise, January to April, September to December, May to August. So quarter wise, January to April, September to December, May to August, January to April. So this is the different years unemployment. So this is on a falling trend. Okay, the report says. Reason for low participation: lack of opportunities. Rural distress has affected women the most as income generating opportunity have disappeared. The lack of suitable job opportunity is acute for women in rural India. Women education. India is one of the most climatically vulnerable place. All the improvement done over decades could be erased in an instant by natural calamity. The poor public infrastructure and limited state capacity make the task difficult. Rising income among urban population. It has removed the economic incentive for women to work. Unpaid work. Most Indian women are deeply engaged in running household, which is unpaid work and does not count as being part of the workforce. Demand and supply gap in employment. The country has not created enough jobs, and the demand supply gap in employment opportunity results in women deciding to stay at home. Working conditions: the non availability of white collar jobs, disproportionate long hour, and lesser job security restrict the job opportunity for educated women. Fine. Government initiatives: the Maternity Benefit Act entitles a woman working in the organized sector to 26 weeks of paid maternity leave. With regard to child care, the Act has created a provision to provide for creche facility in every establishment having 50 or more workers, but this is not properly being implemented. The protection of women against sexual harassment at workplace defines sexual harassment at the workplace and creates an organizational mechanism for redressal of the complaints. Okay, that is what Equal Remuneration Act 1976, the Factory Amendment Act 1948 also seek to provide equality and fairness in women working conditions. Way forward, government policies should not also start targeting women workers in the unorganized sector, which houses the largest number of female and has little or to no penetration of the schemes. The Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act defines sexual harassment at the workplace and create an organizational mechanism for redressal of the complaints. Equal Remuneration Act 1976, Factory Amendment Act 1940 also seek to provide equality and fairness in women working conditions. Way forward, government policies should not start targeting women workers in the organized sectors, which house the largest number of females and have little to penetration of the schemes. Apart from these provisions of amenity and basic infrastructure such as childcare facility will go a long way in welcoming the entry of women into the labor forces. Then the next topic is about the INS Andrut anti-submarine warship. INS Andrut was launched. INS Andrut, second in a series of 8 anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft, was launched in Kolkata recently. Built by the Garden Rich Shipbuilders and Engineers, a Government of India entity. Okay, so the INS Andrew second is a series of 8 submarine warfare saltwater craft propelled by the three diesel-driven water jet. This ship can attain a maximum speed of 25 knots. The primary role is to conduct anti-submarine operation in coastal waters, low-intensity maritime operations, and mine-laying operations. These ships are also capable of full-scale surface surveillance of coastal water and various surface platforms and coordinated ASW operations with aircraft. Fine. So anti-submarine warfare. AW stands for anti-submarine warfare. Then the next topic is an economic topic, the 81 bond. The biggest losses of this Credit Suisse fire sale are investors in the banking major risk set bond called the additional tier 1 or 81 bond, who are faced with a 17 billion wipeout, potentially pushing Europe's $225 billion market for those bonds into turmoil, while likely cascading impact across other geographies. But in this 81 bonds are unsecured bonds that have perpetual tenors. In other words, these bonds issued by the bank have no maturity date. There is a call option which can be used by the banks to buy these bonds back from investors. Call options allow banks to redeem them after 5 or 10 years, but banks are not obliged to use this call option and can opt to pay only interest on these bonds for eternity. Two bank issuing T1 bonds can skip interest payout for a particular year or even reduce the bonds face value without getting into hot water with their investors, provided their capital ratio fall below certain threshold level. These thresholds are specified in their offer terms. If the RBI feels that a bank is tottering on the brink and needs reuse, it can simply ask the bank to cancel its outstanding T1 bond without consulting its investors. That is the option in the T1 bonds. The T1 bonds are typically used by the bank to bolster their core and tier 1 capital. These bonds are introduced by the Basel Accord after the global financial crisis to protect depositors. The bonds act as buffer for banks in times of stress and are perceived to be safer than equity shares. While T1 bonds offer higher return to investors compared with other debt products, T1 bonds are considered high risk because in case of an institutional failure, the bonds are allowed to stop paying interest and if needed, write up these bonds. The 81 bonds are subordinate to all other debt and only senior to common equity or mutual funds, where among the largest investor in perpetual debt instrument called the 81 bond. So mutual funds invest their money in the 81 bond. High return, high risk bond. These bonds offer highest return to investors, but compared to other debt instruments, debt product instruments, these instruments carry a higher risk as well. These bonds can be written down by the bank under the direction of the RBI in the event of an institutional failure. Hence, they are seen as a high-risk instrument. If the bank reaches the point of non-viability, 81 bonds are the first part of the debt that will be written down as per the RBI order. So, those invest in the 81 bond, although it carry higher interest rate, higher return margin, but they also have the highest risk. That is why. So, definitely that which give the highest return obviously must have the highest risk. Okay, then the Mental Health Act 2017, the Mental Health Act Mental Health Care Act 2017 defines substances abuse disorders as mental illness. The Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment informed the Lok Sabha recently in response to a question about whether the government recognized this. The Union government's measure to address this issue come under the umbrella of the National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction. This involves running of the Nasa Mukta Bharat Abhiyan in 372 vulnerable districts, 340 integrated rehabilitation centers for addicts, 48 community-based intervention centers, and 71 outreach and drop-in centers. So, background of this act: before the this Mental Health Care Act 2017, the Mental Health Care Act 1987 existed, which prioritize the institutionalization of mentally ill people and did not afford any right to the patient. That provided disproportionate authority to judicial officers and mental health establishments to authorize long stay admissions, often against the informed consent and wishes of the individual. Consequently, several persons continue to be admitted and languish in mental health establishment against their will. It embodied the ethos of the colonial era Indian Lunacy Act 1912, which inked criminality and madness. Asylums were placed where abnormal and unprotective behavior was studied as an individual phenomenon, isolating the individual from society. The intervention is meant to correct an inherent deficit or abnormality, thereby leading to recovery. In 2017, the Ministry of Home Affairs dismantled the clinical heritage attest to asylums. About the Act defined mental illness. Okay. Okay, that about this act, the 2017 act, the act defined mental illness as a substantial disorder of thinking, mood, perception, orientation, or memory that grossly impairs judgment, behavior, capacity to recognize reality, or ability to meet the ordinary demand of life, mental conditions associated with the abuse of alcohol and drugs. It also provides the right of patient to access facility that include rehabilitation services in the hospital, community and home, shelter and supported accommodations. It regulates the riches of this person with mental illness and the use of neurosurgical treatment. Right under this Mental Health Act, right to make an advance directive, patients can state on how to be treated or not to be treated for the illness during a mental health situation. Right to access to healthcare services, right to free of cost healthcare services, right to live in community, right to protection from cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment, right not to be treated under prohibited treatment, right to equality and non-discrimination, right to information, right to confidentiality, right to legal aid and complaint, attempt to commit suicide not an offense. A person who attempts to commit suicide will be presumed to be suffering from severe stress and shall not be subjected to any investigation or prosecution as earlier it was. Okay. The Act envisages the establishment of Central Mental Health Authority, the State Mental Health Authority, as the APEC institutions which will regulate the mental health conditions of the people in the country. Fine. Then Rule 357 of the Rules and Procedure of the Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha, because which is in much news. Facing the heat of this recent crisis, critical remark on the state of Indian democracy, Congress MP Rahul Gandhi has once again approached the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla seeking permission to respond to totally baseless and unfair charges made against him by senior minister in the Lok Sabha. While making the request, Rahul cited on the rules of procedure and conduct of business in the lower house of the parliament. I am seeking this permission under the Convention of Parliamentary Practices, the constitutionally embedded rules of natural justice, and Rule 357 of the Rule of Procedure and Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha. According to the norms of parliamentary procedure and the constitutionally enshrined principle of natural justice and Rule 357 of the Rule of Procedure and Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha, a member of parliament requests permission to present his view. In the part titled Rules to be observed by the members, the Lok Sabha Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business, there is a provision for personal explanation in Rule 357. According to the rule, a member may, with the Speaker's permission, provide a personal explanation even if there is no question before the House. But in this situation, no dispute topic may be raised and no debate shall be emerged. View of constitutional expert. According to constitutional expert, that the House has the authority to determine whether the member violated a privilege or was in contempt of the House has full autonomy. The general and in general, the claim that opposition legislator microphones are turned off when they speak would be a matter of privilege committee because it might be regarded as an insult to the chair. However, the claim that India's democracy is under attack would probably not amount to a violation of the privilege of parliament. However, it is the House that decides on what is deemed as contempt of the House and breach of privilege, because in this matter the parliament is supreme and what constitute a breach of the parliamentary privilege, only parliament can decide what constitute a breach of privilege of the parliament. Fine. Then coming to the question, India is one of the fastest growing economy in the world. However, this growth has not resulted in a corresponding increase in its Human Development Index. Give reason in support of this statement and suggest measures that could be taken to correct this. Human Development Index is a composite statistical measure published by the United Nations Development Program to evaluate and compare the level of human development in different regions around the world. The SDI of the United Nations Development Program assess a country's average accomplishment in three aspects: long and healthy life, written by the longevity, knowledge, and that by literacy, and decent standard of living measured by per capita income. According to the Human Development Report 21-22, India ranked 132 out of 191 countries. Reason for low level of Indian development in India, human development in India, inequality growth. Economic growth has been unequally distributed and the top 10% of the Indian population holds over 77% of the wealth. This has resulted in significant disparities in access to basic amenities such as healthcare and education. Regional disparities. The subnational SDI show that while some states have made considerable progress, other states continue to struggle. So, example, despite having the higher state gross domestic product, the per capita among larger states, Gujarat and Haryana, have failed to translate disadvantage into human development and rank 21 and 10 respectively. Although economically their progress and prosperity is much more. Absence of socio-economic safety nets. There are these are transfer programs to prevent the poor or those vulnerable to poverty from falling below a certain poverty level. One of the reasons for the low score on the SDI is that India does not have these safety nets. Low quality of public services. While India has made significant progress in reducing poverty and increasing access to healthcare and education, the quality of such services remain a concern. So while the country has achieved near universal enrollment in primary education, the quality of education remains low. Historical facts: the presence of a caste system in India has also resulted in many becoming disadvantaged and having low level of education, health and income. According to the 2013 census, 2011 census, the literacy level of a scheduled caste is only 60.1% as compared to all India level of 73%. Scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is much below than this. Jobless growth. The job growth in India has not kept pace with the GDP growth. Only 40% of the labor force that is capable of working is actually working or looking for work, but rest 60% are not at all getting an avenue to work. So in our economy, the growth is a jobless growth. When the growth is there in the economy, but it is not commensurately reflected in the creation of job. That is a big challenge. That means there is jobless growth in Indian economy. Okay, the growth is there, but the growth is a jobless growth, which is not that advantageous. so that education, the focus should be on the systematic implementation of the new education policy 2022. Health sector effective policy in the public sector, public health sector, corporate convergence of initiatives in different sectors. The focus should be on certain wide determinants of the healthcare like food and livelihood security, drinking water, and better nutrition and sanitation. Employment and skill development. There is a need for prioritizing investment for job creation and skill development to leverage demographic dividend. The unorganized sector. Sorry, sir, sir, sorry, okay, so the health sector effective policy. Okay, employment and skill development. There is a need for prioritizing investment for job creation and skill development to leverage demographic dividend. The unorganized sector should also be strengthened and substantiated with investment due to its spillover effect on the organized sector. Then social protection measures, disparities whether they are rural, urban or regional need to be reduced to ensure a higher level of economic development. This call for addressing the social protection needs of special groups such as migrant workers, the elderly, persons with disability. Okay. क्लास लाइव ସବୁ ପେଣ୍ଡ୍ରାଇଭ୍ ରଖୁଥିବ। Then participatory government through organization of marginal people involved in the civil society, social audit, etc. can yield positive results. So governance measures outward accountability is essential for facilitating greater responsiveness to the need of the public and thereby enhancing service quality. Fine. So developing required infrastructure strategy should be designed to generate the requisite infrastructure in terms of both hardware and software, including teachers, pedagogy, health centers, training programs, okay, electricity and internet. It is built by Hindustan Shipyard Limited, Visakhapatnam, to the Indian Navy. Its primary role is to conduct anti-submarine operations in coastal water, low-intensity maritime operations, and mine-laying operations. So here, this both 1 and 3 are correct, but 2 is incorrect. Fine. It is built by the Garden Rich Shipbuilders, Kolkata. Right? Not by the Hindustan Shipyard, Visakhapatnam, but in by the Garden Rich Shipbuilders. The reference to additional Tier 1 bond, consider the following statement. It is a unsecured and perpetual bond, tenor bond. It is only issued by the central bank of the country, not by central bank. It can issue other banks. So only one is correct, but two is incorrect. The reference to Mental Health Act 2017, consider the following statement. Mental Health Care Act 2017 succeeded the Mental Health Act of 1987. So that is correct. It decriminalized attempted suicide, correct. The Mental Health Care Act 2017 defines substance abuse disorder as mental illness, it is also correct. All the three, 1, 2, 3 are correct. Answer is D. With the following act seek to provide equal. Please in news should to of the following. Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. Okay, it is related to the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Right. Which of the following country became the first corporal punishment? Corporal punishment is any punishment in which physical force is used and intended to cause some degree of pain or discomfort. There is no statutory definition of corporal punishment targeting children in the Indian law. Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 only prohibits physical punishment, not mental harassment. Juvenile Justice 2015 prohibits the corporal punishment here. So 1, 2, 4, 3 is incorrect, but all the three are correct. Okay. Then which of the following became the first and the only state in India to pass the right to health bill? So Rajasthan became the first state to pass a right to health bill. So Rajasthan answer is C for this.